like to call the
Yes, please use your mics.
Do I need to say it again?
No, you're fine. You can go ahead.
Okay. Do we need a roll call?
Sure, we can do a roll call. Chair Eva Journey,
Present.
Vice Chair Hicks,
Here.
Board Member Corley,
Yo.
Board Member Wise,
Here.
and Board Member Jen Castaneda is absent.
So I'd like to take a moment and welcome our city council member and take this opportunity to maybe introduce ourselves to her, and I'll start. So Eva Journey, I've been in Sweet Home since
Please speak into your microphone. I'm sorry.
I've been in Sweet Home since 2011. We retired here. Old story. And I'm on the library board. I've been on for quite a number of years. I'm also on the planning commission. And I've been on the planning commission for about 10 years. I'm retired from nursing, 38 years. And but now I'm a quilter, sewist, stitcher. Very happy to be a quilter, sewer, stitcher, sewist, stitcher. So
Nice to meet you. I'm Kelsey Hicks. I've been in Sweet Home since 2020 and on the board for a few years now. I homeschool my kids and yeah, just happy to be here. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Karen Wise, a retired teacher recently. But how long have I been on the board? About a year?
here,
About a year. So
Nice to meet
enjoying
you.
I'm Jim Corley. I've lived here off and on for, I don't know, 10 years. Solidly on for the last 3 years. Been on this board for a little over a year, and I help kindergartners learn how to read at Hawthorne Monday through Thursday mornings.
Nice to meet you.
He also hosts our writing group at the library on Tuesday mornings.
And Councilor
And it's
Oxford,
growing.
if you want to introduce yourself and why you're interested in being the liaison.
Sure. I am a lifelong Sweet Home resident, third generation living here at Sweet Home. I'm a 2001 graduate. Woohoo! I was a local teacher here. I taught at Oak Heights and Foster. I taught kindergarten and a Title I reading teacher. I work online from home, and I've done that for the past 10 years. I work for Western Governors University. I work for the evaluation reading team, and we evaluate for competency new teacher candidates that are getting ready to student teach. And if you didn't hear from all the things I laid out, I am very excited about reading. I'm excited about education. And so when this opportunity to be the council rep on library board was available, I was really excited. So happy to work with you all. Look forward to it.
thank you. Am I on? Yes, I am. Okay, welcome again. Minutes from January.
And Board Member Hicks, I did notice that I misspelled your last name, so it is corrected in the final version.
Did we have minutes?
It looks like they did not get attached in the packet. I'm sorry about that. They were in the January, or I'm sorry, in the February packet. So if you read them then, it's the same.
But that was the ghost meeting. So can we approve them in April? Okay, so we'll table approval of the January meeting minutes till the April meeting. And now we're ready for the director report.
All right. I'm sure you've read the January, February one from the last packet. So I didn't add that to this one. If you want to go back and read it, you can. The biggest thing that's happened this month is in the beginning of February, Mayor Coleman was able to go to the Library of Congress in DC and select 5 boxes of books for our collection. Senator Wyden's office had those mailed to us. And then a surprise showed up this week of another 5 boxes of books that Senator Wyden's aide also selected and had mailed to us. Those include mostly children's picture books, some like teen books, and some bilingual Spanish books. So most of them will be added to the collection. A few won't. We already had, or they're a little bit older, and those are going out to the little free libraries around town. I just put some of them in the little free library out front of the building at lunch today. We are looking at condensing down our Western fiction collection. It's our least used collection currently, but it's still used. There's just some authors that are no longer like particularly in favor as much anymore, so they haven't been checked out in 5 or more years, so those are moving on. And then we'll find some place to put what's remaining of the collection. I'm not sure exactly where yet, but we're going to make that little horseshoe-shaped area next to the circulation desk. That's going to become like a tween area for books for about junior high level. So right now, a lot of the kids have to look either in the kids area or the teen area. So we're just going to try to, a lot of libraries are going this way. Albany did this at the beginning of the year. So we're kind of taking their lead and making a collection for tweens in that area. I've applied for some grants, or in the process of applying for some grants to hopefully get some new books for that area as well. But right now it's mostly going to be just moving some of the stuff we already have. Just hope to have that done by the time school starts in the fall. Surprisingly, we had no issues with our building this month. The replacing both toilets has been a good thing. We added our local author section. I've had a couple authors since that also donate some books for it. It was a great suggestion from one of our local authors, happens to be on the board. So we've created that. There's fiction and nonfiction. We've moved some of the books that were in our Northwest collection to the area, but some of them have just been ones that have been donated to us that hadn't been in a collection yet. In-person programming, most Saturdays in February, we had some type of programming happening. Our day after Valentine's Day tea had over 50 people this year. And then local author Simone Dankenberg, I'll get her name right. She had about 25 people show up for her book signing as well. So if you know any additional authors, we'll also host them, even if they are 9 years old. Trying to get you and Ezekiel to come in to a book signing. We did have to cancel programs, including story time on February 13th and 14th due to the weather. But other than that, we had pretty good numbers, as you see in the stats in a second. No new updates about a new building. Other updates, the University of Oregon Museum of Natural and Cultural History's Native Innovations display, which is a traveling display they have, is going to be visiting us starting the 2nd week of April, and it'll be here for a month. That will just take place out in our lobby area like we had the dinosaurs a couple years ago. This will be a lot of interactive things that kids can do. Usually they range from about age 5 to about 13, 14 is what they're going for age, but anybody can go through it. And we already have a class from Holly Elementary coming to visit it. We've had 2 new volunteers that have recently started. They're doing great, learning new things. The only thing they're forgetting to do is put down their hours. So the hours are still slightly low, but we're getting back up there. So any questions about anything?
So can you tell us a little bit about the little free libraries? Are they being used? Are they emptying, or what's the status?
So Kira it was sunny last Friday, so Kira went around and filled all the ones that are up. There's still a few more that need to be installed by the school district, but she filled all of them. City Hall one, I noticed on Monday, was mostly empty already, and then Ryan emailed me today and said it was completely empty. So I came over on my way home for lunch and filled it back up. a lot of like Sankey and some of the elementary schools that have them, people are remembering to put their books in them as well. So those aren't relying so much on just donations that we're getting. But so far, the City Hall one is mostly people just taking, which is fine. We have the books.
You said there were a few that haven't been installed. Where will those ones go?
Oak Heights has one that they haven't installed yet. And then the junior high and the high school both have them. They haven't had them installed yet. So if you know anybody at either of those places, they should be in the front office of all those 3 schools. Because we had a volunteer deliver them.
Hmm.
Any other questions from the report? I will move on to the statistics. Which those of you that read the council packet have already seen all of this. Pretty much we're on track for at least meeting, if not already exceeding numbers for the year. These are usually our slower months. So the fact that we're still keeping up is pretty good, I think. And then we're getting those volunteer hours back up. And summer is when the most of the time the volunteers volunteer anyway. And new patron cards, we had, I think this might be close to a record since I've been here. We had 78 new cards in February. So a lot of people moving to town or getting their student cards too.
Yeah, I was wondering about that because it's an outlier compared to what was before.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe it was a class. But
No,
it's
just people coming
people
in.
Coming in.
There might have been a few larger, like 5-6 person families, but that happens every month anyway.
And the total programs was less because of cancellations due to weather and such.
And it's just was a shorter month as well.
Oh, shorter month.
But even our participants were up, even then, if canceling story time, which takes off 2 programs and about 30 to 40 people.
Yeah.
The kids got to be elephants today and have noisemakers, and I think the parents hate us. But they had great fun. Okay. That's for that. Old business is on you.
So I know you already considered the strategic plan, but to have a fully legal vote, I do need a motion and a second and a voice vote. So there's no new information. Nothing has changed from your January meeting. There was no motion or second.
So I'd just like to make a couple of comments because I reread it again. In the core values statement, I'm really glad that on the 3rd line it says we are a learning organization. I think that's really important in this day and age, an important way to advertise what the library does. And so the rest of my comments really just have to do with implementation. So I'll save that for some other time. That was okay.
Now it's fine if you want to talk about or change anything. It's still open since it wasn't an official vote.
Okay. Just a brief editorial on goal 2. You could put a comment after marketing, comma, promotion and communication, just to tidy that up. And then on the first objective, to make the increase a present tense, not a past tense. Going to goal 3, objective 2. Do we have a notion of what reducing barriers and would entail or refer to? I'm assuming that we're not referring to physical barriers, although we've had some, and other barriers I might not be aware of.
It can be all of those.
Okay.
One of the physical barriers that I'm working on is our handicap door not always working.
Right.
Another barrier might be tweens not necessarily easily finding the materials that they're looking for, so having their own collection.
Okay. And then on goal number 5, objective 2, refresh my memory. Didn't we have a program in the past, and I'm thinking about Libby, but I might be wrong, where there were programs for skills updates online?
We did have access to that. It was through LinkedIn Learning. That was funded through the State Library of Oregon.
Mhm.
And due to increased costs and low usage, they discontinued paying for that.
Mm.
And it's not necessarily something that we could afford on our own,
Right.
because we were getting also low usage on it as well.
Mhm.
Mostly it was a certain department within the city that's in this building. The planning department was mostly the ones that were using it.
Mhm.
Which would be fine, but it still was a cost per video was still rather high for us.
So do you know, was that a usage issue that was spread across other communities?
Yeah, it
As
was
well.
low use across the
Just
state.
in general, yeah. Okay.
So they decided to, instead of funding that, they put more money into the Libby reading app. So there'd be more titles available because the usage keeps going up for ebooks. And that's
So-
shared across the state as well.
So the Libby reading app is different from ebooks?
It is the ebooks.
It is the ebook.
The LinkedIn Learning, which is the one that was canceled, was videos that you could get certificates
Yeah.
at the end. and-
Right. And the Libby ebooks is well used?
Yes, it's very well used. We have around 750 titles checked out for our patrons every month.
Wow.
And we're one of the smaller users across the state.
Mhm.
So they have hundreds of thousands of titles and triple, quadruple that of users, it seems like.
Thank you.
Our household uses the Libby app and it is awesome. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And I think, did you have some comments on the?
Yes, it makes my teeth itch for goals to not have dates, but I've mentioned that before, and that's nothing new. I love that number 1 is the updated facilities,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
I would encourage that to be included in the newsletter on a regular basis. Maybe it is, and I didn't notice.
I haven't included that yet.
Yeah, I think since we're putting out a newsletter, it would be a good way to market the fact that it's needed. I think anybody who goes there, and I think you could tie things like, well, we're gonna pull back the Western collection because we just don't have as many readers reading it, but the reality is we don't have space, and connect those dots for people. That would probably be a good idea. And because of my involvement at Hawthorne, I'm delighted to see the goal to work with the school district and working on literacy in town, because I think economically, towns that are hurting, I think there's a strong link to literacy. So way to go.
Thank you. And just as an aside, the Oregon Library Association conference is once a year. It'll be in April in Eugene, but I'm presenting on some of the programs we did with the school district. I'm part of a panel for that of different innovative things that public libraries have done with school districts. So we'll talk more about that when we get to April and actually have the presentation done.
Mhm.
You can give us the presentation.
I have to write it first.
I have one other question or comment. Is there a way that the stained glass from the current building could be preserved? That was just so amazing.
Yeah. So there's three things people have consistently asked for in a new building. The books, obviously, the stained glass, and the staff. Those are three things that they want no matter where we go. So yeah, they've had some architects I talked to said even if they're not put on an outside wall, they're the perfect size to be like an end cap on the bookshelves, and you could put a light behind them. So that's an idea, but also in the wall as windows.
And my recollection is that when it was constructed knowing that it might be moved at some point. So it's set up to go somewhere else, possibly.
We just have to get the somewhere else.
Yes.
Thank you.
One more thing I didn't ask about, I was curious about where we were on the procurement of property for the new library.
So a piece of land that was a potential donation to us is no longer on the table because the person passed and it's in escrow for who knows how long. And I don't know what the estate would decide with that. Some empty pieces of property in town, the owners are not willing to negotiate. Or there was an outside group that made an offer on a piece of property and then would donate it. And they never responded to the offer. So that's kind of where we're at with that.
I thought we had talked about possibly putting it near here.
Yeah,
Is that
we
still-
were looking at the piece of property that kind of surrounds,
Yeah.
and that's no longer on the table.
Okay. Is there a reason?
That's the owner that is
Oh,
deceased.
okay.
So if you know of a 10 to 15,000 square foot building, I would like to purchase it, but there's very few of those in town.
Yeah.
And remodeling a building would be significantly cheaper than building new. It wouldn't be as cool, but it would be significantly cheaper. Okay. If there's anything else, I'm going to move on to the two new things we have, which I left over from last month.
Do we need to vote?
I was gonna,
Did you
do we
say
need
we
a
needed to
motion
vote?
to adopt this?
Yes, please.
Okay.
I'll move to adopt the strategic plan for 25 through 30.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, now I'll move on. So, new business. I just have the newsletter, and then the History Jamboree is the backside of the newsletter because I'm trying to promote that as much as possible this month. So I also, it's not in your packet, but it's on the table, is the call for volunteers for the History Jamboree. I think about half the slots at least are full already for their volunteers. Come and visit or volunteer or stop by if you have stories, even if you don't necessarily know that much about what was happened during the construction. If you have stories from now, or you live in a house that was owned by one of the workers, or bring your neighbor if they know stories, anything.
So in this, the signing up for volunteers is where? Is there like a sign up genius?
They have the little QR code on the paper. You
If
sign
you-
up there, and then there's a website, I believe, as well. And we can help you if you stop by the library. We can help you
If
sign up
there's
too.
not skill with QR codes.
Just stop by the library and we'll help you. They're the researchers are from Boise State, so they're used to being on a college campus and having QR codes for everything. So I'm like, just say we'll help them sign up. Okay, so I have two items that are kind of connected. I'm going to start with C and then go back to B. So I want to try to go through this like every year or when we have a new person on the board, since Chelsea joined us, but now that February, but now March would be a great time to go over some of the public library standards that are statewide. I've just really condensed it down on what you have in your packet to 2 pages, but it is a 58-page document if you want the whole thing. pretty much I just put down the ones that are related to public libraries. This is mostly just to let everybody know that we don't get to just do whatever we want to do. There are certain standards that we have to meet statewide to be an official public library and to qualify for different grants and other funding, and to like be part of the Libby app collection and some other things. And then in addition to that, right at the end, I also put in the Sweet Home Municipal Code that about what the library board can do and not do. And then there should be links to those as well. These are mostly just for educational. If you have any questions, if you want to see the full public library standards, you're welcome. I have a copy and I can always give you another copy. I think I've given most of you a copy. One of the things within that is there is a 20, 30 page checklist for different levels of how good you are, basically. So there's the essentials, which is pretty much what I have listed there. Then there's enhanced and exemplary. So what type of library you are. We're meeting almost all of the essential, might be one or two, but mostly that's because of our size. And a lot of them we're working towards in the strategic plan. We're working toward enhanced or exemplary on some of them. One of the things that we need for that is also to have a teen advisory group, which is why that's in the strategic plan. So it's just kind of a lot of, it all fits together in some way. So just a lot of work, but I just wanted everyone to know that there is a plan. There's a pathway that we need to follow.
So I really enjoyed going through this because it sets the bar. And I'm thinking, following up on some of the things that Jim said, that as you and your staff achieve some things in the enhanced and exceptional categories, that would be a good thing to advertise, put in the newsletter.
Yeah.
Have an article in the paper or whatever. However, just to show how exceptional you are.
Yeah. I'm not great at selling myself sometimes or selling the library, but we're working towards it.
But we will encourage you.
Yeah.
And we see you every month. So
It's just also, I've been in the library so long that a lot of this seems very standard to me. And then I realized that other people don't
Yeah,
necessarily know a lot of this.
right, exactly.
And then we get to mark off one of our essential things today of we have a strategic plan. So
And we can be at least a partial voice of the public.
Yeah.
So.
So that, and then the other thing I have is the Oregon State Library data set. You just have a link in your packet because it is a huge Excel spreadsheet when you download it. And if you like are a big data nerd, it's fun. There are all those public libraries that are public. There are a few private libraries in the state that don't have to do this. There's one on, where are they? They're somewhere on the coast, and a few others. They're just funded by grants and donations and volunteers. Don't get any public funding, don't have a levy or tax base or anything. So they don't have to meet these standards. They, for the most part, try to, but they don't necessarily do that. But every other public library in Oregon, every year we fill out a very long questionnaire giving stats for the last year. The reporting timeline is a little bit odd because we fill out the stats in October, but it's for the previous fiscal year. And then the stats come out in January. So it's about a year and a half behind. So sometimes my brain kind of breaks a little bit trying to remember like, okay, and then summer reading happens almost in the middle of that and is broken apart. So it's a little bit confusing sometimes. And then they change some things slightly every year. But it shows the different levels of funding across the state for different libraries, how many staff members have master's degrees, part-time, full-time, building sizes, funding, I already mentioned that one, collection sizes, what types of collections, what types of programs, what ages the programs are for, so how things circulate. There's just a lot there. It's sometimes disheartening, sometimes very positive to look at what other libraries of similar size are able to do or not do that we can do or not do. So it's all there for you.
So, in that regard, do you have any information about how the libraries in Lynn County are doing in general? I mean, we're doing well. Are we with a consortium that's struggling or doing better?
We're doing fairly good with the consortium's doing fairly good. We would like to, at some point, have more funding to upgrade our catalog system. And there has been some talk, but it hasn't gone anywhere yet, of possibly combining with Benton or Lincoln County as well. And Lincoln County just combined with one of the other coast counties, now I can't remember which one, that's right next door. And they're now on the same system that we're on. So if we can just get Corvallis to cooperate with us. But being on a bigger system and shared catalog could increase the access to collections that our patrons would have.
Well,
That's a long-term goal.
yeah, and in that regard, I mean, I'm thinking Benton County, would that mean we'd have access to OSU, the library, which would just
Not to OSU, but to the Corvallis Benton Public Library.
yeah.
With OSU, you actually can't, I can get you some access, but you'd have to go to Corvallis.
Okay.
But we have what's called a passport program that's across the state. So basically, if you have a public library card at any public library, you can get another public library card at a different library, and
Yeah,
that includes U of O and OSU.
That used to be the case back in the day with
Yeah.
Lebanon going there to get before the consortium, but I would love to get a passport to.
Yeah, just talk to
OSU.
us next time you're in, and we can
Great.
get that for you. And then you can check out most things at OSU or U of O or Portland State or.
And would that would give me access to their catalog so I could see if there's something available?
Yeah, you can look now. This would just give you access to be able to like put a hold or something on it, I believe.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. Great.
There's 5 million items there that you have
Yeah.
access to now.
Yeah.
I don't think it gives you access to a lot of their online stuff because they have online journals have a lot of restrictions,
Yeah.
even on or off campus.
But the hard copies would be
Yeah.
wonderful. Okay, great.
One question about the size of our current building, square footage.
Yes. So we're small. A recommended would be about double the size that we currently are for our current population.
Okay, and our current square footage is?
5,400 and something square
Yeah,
feet.
quite
Ouch.
2,000, yeah.
Well, it's about 3 times, maybe 4 times bigger than it used to be. But I have a question. I read somewhere recently that Albany had a system where you could check out like tools and things for what do you know about that?
So that was that's called a library of things. We don't have the space.
Right.
We have the desire. Right now we just for our official library of things, that's where we have our games and puzzles. And there's a few other random things in there. Somebody donated one of those weight loss hula hoops and some knitting the things I don't knit, so I don't know what they are. The round knitting looms.
Oh, yeah.
We
Yeah,
have
got
those as
one.
well. And then obviously our musical instruments.
Mhm.
We would love to have something like what Albany's did, which I believe they have like an Instapot, tools, cake pans. I'm not sure exactly what they
Yeah,
have.
it sounded like a lot of
Yeah.
just miscellaneous.
Wilsonville has a really great collection of like kitchen appliances and fishing gear and like snow
Wow.
gear and all of that you can
Is
check
that
out.
stuff that's been donated? by
Typically, it's donated or grant funded.
It sounds chaotic to me, but okay.
libraries find a way to make things like that work,
I
but
suppose.
it takes a lot of space.
You'd
It
almost
would
need a separate
probably, if we
building.
had our staff area space, is probably about how much space we would need to be able to start doing more of that. And we just don't have that.
Yeah, no, that's
I've
crazy.
I've taken over about every closet we can and put stuff in it. So
And we all,
Selling point.
yeah, we can provide more if we had more space and more money.
Mhm.
we also have the seed library, which seems to be going well.
Yes. I think we've gone through like 2,000 packets of seeds already this year.
Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh.
And we have more to put out. I'm gonna have to do another order of the little tiny envelopes.
Hmm.
And yeah, people are very excited to get stuff planted. I think I'm seeing a far more excitement this year, but I think more people every year know about
Mhm.
it as well. People really, a lot of people have been asking for tomatoes. Which we have a bunch of tomatoes out there now, but that seems to be what people are most interested in this year. So expect your neighbors to have tomatoes in a few months. So that's all I have, unless there's any other questions. The nerds that like the numbers like me can go and take a look at the data set and compare us to other libraries. So
Any other comments by anyone? Then I will adjourn the meeting at 5:07.